We are back live from E3 at the E3 Esports Zone. We're doing SubNation Live, and I'm your host, Alex Machine Richardson. We are back in business, and we have fully filled the sofa for the first time, day 2. Got Bernard Chang, Seven, and Kim Rom all joining me to have a very enlightening conversation about a project they've all been working on for some time. So I guess we start with some introductions. Bernard, you are DC Marvel character artist, and you find yourself now kind of stepping another foot into esports. How has this journey been for you so far?
I've played video games ever since I was a little kid. Video games and comic books were the two
My
big
kind of
things.
guy. My kind of guy.
My first video game console was the old Nintendo Japanese red and white one.
Wow.
And then
an
they
OG.
also had like a separate disc thing that you could add. So that was like really hard to find in the US.
Yeah. So OG gamer, on the other end, the other bookend of this sofa, Kim Rom, I think an OG of esports. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Does that stroke your ego the right way?
I think that's fair to say.
No, but yeah, I mean, you have truly been a voice and a part of a lot of the kind of groundwork that esports is built upon. Which stand out to you most? What do you define yourself most by, those projects that you've been a part of?
Honestly, probably Explain.
Yeah.
Explain. I'm revitalizing the brand right now, but from 2001 to 2014, it was the premier Danish Counter-Strike community. It was like the one place where everyone would go. I'm really proud of having shepherded that in the beginning.
Absolutely. And now a partnership has formed. Seven, of course, CEO of SubNation. You were telling me that there were some dots connected. Can you walk me through how this relationship started?
So I've known both Bernard and Kim for a very long time. Kim and I know each other from ESL back in the day, and we are working with him on X-Plane from an investment standpoint, and we were having a conversation about the 20-year anniversary of Counter-Strike coming up. And Kim was really going deep on Guzman from Counter-Strike. And we have this Unlearn brand at SubNation, and SubNation is really about curating the culture of esports and protecting the authenticity of it. So everything we do, we try and touch from the OG side and really help lead the culture of it. And so Bernard is also a dear friend for a long time. Unbelievable artist, does Batman Beyond, Teen Titans. And so we wanted to create this brand that we could reuse over and over again to educate people through art.
Yeah.
And so Unlearn will feature, well, I'll let you talk about the first episode or the first product for Unlearn.
Ooh.
Well, it's Guzman and Ming Lei, and he is kind of the unsung hero, right? He developed the programming that enabled multi-player gaming, online gaming, that is pretty much most of E3 today.
I spend my 300 days a year commentating professional tournaments of salaried six-figure players of a game he made a modification on. And it's crazy that not many would know that name.
Right, and it's a real honor to really pay homage and kind of bring to the spotlight, these guys that are pioneers and founders of what we enjoy doing today.
So Kim, can you give everyone watching a bit of a history lesson, albeit briefly? 1999, two kids in a room somewhere.
Absolutely. So June 19th, 1999, Guzman had been working on this for about better part of a year. He was 17 years old when he started, right? So in a world where no one had ever done a battle arena, had never done an online-only, no-story type of game, this guy come up with a game that's set in realistic settings, involves the best mappers from the community to create the maps. You can argue that there is no Counter-Strike game. It is really different maps with different themes and feelings that you're playing on. He comes up with the first meta, an economic buy system that has repercussions for how you play the game.
Which has only received its first changes recently. I mean, at least in CSGO, but I mean, the foundations have been laid and stayed for 20 anniversary?
Yes.
20 years.
It's absolutely nuts to think about, right?
Yeah.
And the best thing about that is actually like when you ask him, he would say like, the buy system was a failure because people still kept buying the AK-47 and the Colt.
Sure. Yeah. The fact you're calling it a cult, I think, is testament to the OG nature of your Counter-Strike. So from that, you as a collaborative unit, decided that you wanted to commemorate him in a way.
So in 1999, this 17-year-old kid is responsible for making a free mod that has realistic guns in realistic settings, asymmetrical multiplayer team-based shooter. There are so many different things in this title that had never been done before that it's
Right.
almost impossible to understand. I was running one of the biggest game sites in Denmark at the time, so I saw the cultural change. And there was it was a defining moment for gaming culture because that was the time when gaming became social. That was the first time where you wanted to go out in the world and meet other people who played the same type of game as you did, so you could discuss it with them. It wasn't about just playing a new type of game, it was about being a player. It was a new way of being a player of games.
And, it's a competitive game, so immediately yes, people have competed in games way before this. I mean, you're sitting next to each other and you're playing split screen, but
My guess is that half of the Counter-Strike scene back then didn't have a computer. They went to internet cafes to play the game. It was the killer app for online gaming. That was what made people buy a computer and join the community to begin with.
and this, of course, was, your link to this was you were doing Explain at the same time and took an interest, but Explain's coming back?
So I actually built the first stats system for Counter-Strike.
Right.
I had 7 servers. Back then you hosted your own servers. Every night at midnight we would do a job on the server logs and player versus player across Denmark, how you ranked against every other player, against every other weapon, what weapon were best, were things that were completely non-transparent at the time. We made it very obvious. So in Denmark people started, instead of running, they would start crouching around corners, and all of a sudden it became about your kill score. I randomly became one of the first managers in esports, where I helped start a team called SOA, and it just grew from there. I made Explain because I felt like it was very hard to sell a sponsorship in Counter-Strike in 2001, because 2 things had happened. The Columbine massacre happened, I think, roughly 3 weeks before Counter-Strike was released.
Oh, goodness.
So luckily, 3 weeks before, and then 9/11 happened. It was really hard to go to companies and tell them about a game where you planted bombs
And shot
to win a
people, yeah.
game
Yeah,
after
of course.
the towers fell.
Yeah.
It was really hard. So I came up with the idea of starting a cultural website that would just focus on the people who played the game and then tell their story.
And Bernard, you were a part of telling that story for Gooseman. How did you find it? How was this experience? A lot of research, I imagine, a lot of chats, and
A bit of everything, but also
of
the
everything.
drawing itself. It's a 4 feet by 4 feet drawing. In comics, usually we're drawing 11 by 17, and lately also now on the iPad or on the tablet. So it's the size in itself and performing drawing in front of a crowd.
So you've been doing it live, right?
Oh, yeah.
Live here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could. And where would I see it?
since
I-
yesterday.
Right in the E3 Esports Subnation Zone,
Yeah.
right here in the front section.
Fantastic. I'm going to go take a look after this. But so 4 feet by 4 feet. Are you enjoying that medium? Are you enjoying just having, the scalability?
It's daunting, but there's all these other games going on, and so I'm listening to people playing, and then it's getting me hyped up and pumped up, and fairly competitive in trying to get this piece finished.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see it. And of course, if you want to see it one more time, Seven, you got it. But it's at the Subnation area of the E3 Esports Zone.
Absolutely, and the really cool thing I want to kind of make a point is this has been kind of so enjoyable and such a great way for us to use our Unlearn moniker. So many people have rushed into the esports space, and Unlearn is really an education that we're going to do through art. So we'll do these limited edition drops, and what we're going to do with this first drop is we're going to give a portion of the proceeds back to Gooseman, because he is an unsung hero who didn't really get his reward for creating something that has filled so many passion points around the world. So we're going to probably put on our Subnation Instagram a picture of Bernard's final work, and then we will come up with limited edition prints and T-shirts. And so it's really about supporting the artists and the people who've built what it is we all get to enjoy today. And so we'll do ongoing limited edition drops, but this will be the first in the series.
So there is more to come, but it's finding the, not hidden figures, but the names that but perhaps, they were being a part of esports before esports was even a thing. And perhaps that recognition wasn't there, the money certainly wasn't there, and giving it back.
And so creativity, authenticity, and Subnation is the conduit to make these things happen. And we're just really honored to be working with 2 friends And two OGs in their own respective rights.
Hell yeah. And you know what? I couldn't do a better sign off than that. That is the perfect way to summarize the three people that I find myself sharing sofas with. So thank you. An absolute honor, Bernard, Kim, and of course Seven. This has been the SubNation stage, and they are working on creating and recognizing those figures in esports. Gooseman the first, and you can find it on the SubNation Instagram to see this 4 foot by 4 foot masterpiece, and of course all the others that will be coming along the way. That's all from us here. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking more with some fantastic personalities and characters live in E3.